Yay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to The Silver Lining, the weekly geekly talk show where we discuss pretty much whatever we feel like discussing at the time, and then we also discuss what you guys want to discuss. My name is Uncle Silver Greg, whatever you want to call me. I am the host of this show, and you are also the host because I love to interact with the chat, and I love having you guys here so that we can have things to talk about, because any topic I want to talk about is probably, at this point, I'm going to date the stream here, and if I wanted to talk about anything, it was probably going to be the Avengers, or we'd end up talking about Smash Brothers or Splatoon or something like that. So I like the fact that we get to talk about different things. But hello, everybody. That Michael Guy, Elements, Logan, Shadow, Lady Foxheart, Awesome, CT, you know, the list goes on. The list goes on of wonderful people that stop here and just want to hang out, you know, for an hour or two. Can we not talk? Shadow, we are not talking Avengers. No, we are not going to talk Avengers. This is a spoiler-free zone. So if you happen to be watching this and you haven't seen Avengers yet, don't worry. There should be nothing in the chat that's going to spoil the movie for you. Sage is jumping around. Hey, Sean, how you doing? Sage is jumping around. So who knows what's going to happen. I will try and keep him out of the front of the camera. Okay. So how is everybody doing? I have had a sort of weird week. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just this sort of a strange week. You know, not too up, not too down. Noticeable differences, you know what I mean? Some highs and lows. A lot of the time the things are very static, you know what I mean? A little bit of high, a little bit of low, you know what I mean? But this week was like a lot of highs and lows, which I won't really get into because highs and lows tend to be very personal. Yeah, we again, Fiero, we're not talking about Avengers. We are not going to spoil any of that stuff. We'll give everybody some chances to actually see it. Doing good. Just got hired for 2 commissions. Yes, I can eat today. Or I can eat again. Applied for 4 university jobs. Very awesome. Good luck with those. I'm dealing with depression, but also have some slightly good moments. That's suave. Unfortunately, that is how depression works for us. You know what I mean? We get bummed out, and then there's good stuff that happens. We're going to talk about Konami and Castlevania Mobile. No, we're not going to talk about that. Well, we can talk about that later. Can we discuss why Uncle Greg was no awesome? You're awesome. No, today's topic is brought to us by a member of the chat here, Dr. Juice. Doctor under what is that? What is that called? Is that an underspace? It's the space with the line at the bottom. What is that actually called? Got some flowers for the front garden. Took a longer nap than I probably should. The Elements, those are the best nap. See, it's called an underscore, right? Okay, I was never sure because I always thought an underscore was the line under a word or a letter. So the fact that it's blank, I wasn't sure if it was still called an underscore. Take a keyboard in class. I don't need a keyboard in class. I know what all of these are, like numlock, so that your fingers don't get all tingly. And pig up so that you can call bacon. You can call bacon for home. Like I know what all these buttons do. But no. Today's topic is brought to us by. It sounds like I'm going to say by the letter, but Dr. Juice had this idea for a topic, and I do kind of like this idea because when I thought about it, I realized that it really could go in a bunch of different directions. I am going to tell you now that it could, I don't think it's not polarized. Polarizing is not the right word because there are multiple sides to this, but this is one of those, well, technically it's brought to you by the letter D for doctor. But this is one of those topics that people may have strong opinions on, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. The question presented is in short, the question is, what is a gamer? It sounds like a small question because it sounds like the answer is supposed to be someone who plays video games. And that seems relatively simple. But if I tell you that all I play is Candy Crush, does that make me a gamer? If I play console games, but all I play is Madden, does that make you a gamer? Like Dr. Juice presented it, what if you have thousands of hours into an MMO and that's it? Does that make you a gamer? A gamer is someone whose name is gamer. To be a gamer, it needs to be a primary focal hobby that transcends purely mainstream focus. Yeah, but Ryan, now here's the gag though. But purely mainstream focus, does that mean that if I only play games that are popular for the time, then I'm not a gamer? If I play Candy Crush, you know what I mean? And I say Candy Crush because it's one of the most obvious reasons. So let me put this a little bit closer. If I'm only playing God of War, or for whatever the hell it's, whichever one it is, if I'm playing Dad of War, and then I stop playing Dad of War when the new game comes out, does that mean I'm a gamer? Because now what's going on is I'm playing video games, but I'm following mainstream influence to play those games. Plays video games on a regular basis. And that's Suave, and that's why I like this topic, because basically you're not a superhero geek if you only watch MCU movies. See, I don't know, but then that makes you an MCU fan. See, and that's why I say that this topic is very dangerous, because I think someone can be a gamer even if they stick to mainstream stuff. Exactly. See, there you go. It's always mileage may vary. Now that's the mileage may vary thing. If I have an extensive knowledge of video games, but I haven't played a video game in 2 years, am I still a gamer? You know, I could tell you every trick there was about every NES game, but I have never played a game past GameCube. Would I still be considered a gamer? You know, I don't play modern games. I don't play retro games. You know, there's all of these ways that boy. What is a gamer? An amazing pile of experiences. That would depend, according to and Aqua Sakura. It depends is my answer to most questions in life. According to Wikipedia, a gamer is a person who plays interactive games, either video games, skill-based games, or physical games, and plays them for usually longer periods of time. However, in a general or typical definition, seems to be that a gamer is a person who plays video games. Oh, okay, it's okay. You actually that brings up something, Aqua, and I'm gonna be trying to jump around topics here, comments here. That brings up a very interesting topic. What if I don't play video games? What if all I play is board games? But I play 3 hours of board games a day, 5 days a week. See, the term gamer, to just remember, because all I said was gamer. That term is broader than anybody realizes, I think. I think we use it automatically as video gamer, but it's technically not. Yeah, usually there you go. Usually associated with video games, but board games count too. I can't define gamer, but I know. I can't define gamer, but I know someone who only plays sports games, one MMO, or Candy Crush aren't gamers. Not that they're inferior, just that they're not gamers. I can't define gamer, but it implies someone who invests in gaming culture. See, yeah, board games make someone a gamer. Some people would say no. Some people would say that. Ryan, and Ryan, that's sort of the point of this. That's sort of the point, and that's the first thing that I want to tackle when I say that. The idea of this topic, the reason I like this topic is not because I want to answer the question, but I want to do something that I usually do with topics, which is answer the term, it depends. I said that before, like it depends is like the biggest, is the most important answer I have for any question. I would like for somebody interacting with this or watching this to because I hear that, hey, are you a gamer? I need the first thing out of your mouth. If someone says, are you a gamer? Or you hear someone say, are you a gamer? I need the first thing out of your mouth to be, what do you define as a gamer? I need more clarity on that. LARPing. I wouldn't count. I don't know. See, I'm not familiar with LARPing. I probably wouldn't count LARPing because my understanding is that there is not, and again, this is my understanding of it, that it's just a fun thing and that there's not a score-keeping competitive aspect to it. Unless there is, in which case I've never heard of it before. Sort of like those weird, which I find very strange, the Civil War reenactors and stuff. Like, there's no competition there. You know what I mean? They are enacting something. There's not a game. There's not a competitive nature to it. Even something like Job Market is a game. Game Theory is a game. Anything that with a competitive aspect to it. Like I said, I think the base for being an enthusiast for anything is the development of own tastes beyond just what is necessarily popular. Whether you like something or not isn't important. It's going beyond the bare level. I don't know. I wonder. See, I wonder if that counts, because if I played Dad of War because it's the popular thing, and I beat it and I cleared it 100% of the game, and then next week the next big game comes out and I play that one because it's popular, I'm not developing my own interest. I'm following the popular culture. I'm following the trend of what's going on in video games, but I would probably still be called a gamer. I'm not developing an interest beyond. I have met countless people, which is very strange to me, but I've met countless people who only have one video game system. It is whatever the current system is, and they constantly trade in their games to get the newest games, and when the new system comes out, they're there day one to trade in the system and get the new system. They are following the popular trend and not developing a trend on their own. Or it could be seen that the following the popular trend is their interest. Would you then not consider them a gamer? See what I mean? And this is why I say that it's sort of weird. You need to define what a game is too. Shadow, I like that, Shadow. Then you're just a trend follower. I wouldn't call you an enthusiast or a hobbyist. I would say that Shadow, I like that term. Define a game. I think that's a good starting point. I think a good starting point is to define what a game is. A game, I would say, would be something on a competitive level or with a competition aspect to it. What that means to say, that does not necessarily mean that you are competing with someone else. It doesn't necessarily mean you're competing with something else. You may be competing with yourself. You know, there's a question about what are sports. You know, I've heard that before. What counts as a sport? People say like physical activity and you have to do this, you have to do that. Fishing is a sport, because in fishing, not only are you competing with the nature of what you're doing, you know what I mean? Like you can throw your line out there and reel it back in and there's nothing there. So you have to up your game, as it were, in order to be able to catch a fish. If you want to catch a fish and then you want to catch a bigger fish, you're competing with yourself in that sense. There's a sensation of competing with the fish. There's a guy, the fish are going to beat me today, or I'm going to be. There is a competitive aspect to it, even though it's not one that we normally think of. Don't we also follow top 10 lists of 2017 to play the best games? Suave, that's exactly my point. That's why I was talking about. That's what I was saying with Ryan. If we follow a top 10 list and only play those games on the top 10, we are heavily playing video games, but we really are only following the trend. So if I told you that I did that and I said, I'm a gamer, I play all the modern stuff, everything on the top 10 list, would you then be able to look at me and say that I'm not a gamer because I am just following a trend? It's sort of weird. Developing an interest in playing trade still. You know what, Ryan? No, Ryan, I'm going to tell you where you're going with that, because I agree with you in a sense. I'm going to tell you where you're going with that. You're going in a very interesting direction, which is where hold on. Shadow, a game doesn't need to be competitive. For example, God of War isn't competitive. No, Shadow, God of War is competitive. Storyline games are competitive in the sense that you are the opponent you're battling is the computer. You are battling the computer. You are battling the challenges that were programmed into that computer to see if you can defeat them. That's why it's a competitive game. If there was no competition aspect whatsoever, it would be a visual novel. And visual novels aren't generally considered video games because you don't have to think anything out. You just click a button and you get the next bit of story. But back to Ryan's topic. You're getting into an area that we used to. I've heard this discussion before, and I loved the answer to the discussion. Casual gamers versus hardcore gamers. That's sort of where that argument starts to bleed into, where you get the question of what is a casual gamer and what is a hardcore gamer. And that's the thing. But before we get into that, I do want to handle who I believe a gamer. I do want to get a solid opinion out there. I believe a gamer is somebody who enjoys the competitive aspect of the activity at hand. You know, if you I can't really say in a physical, in a mental aspect, because if you could say that, and then you could say playing basketball, which is a type of game. See, and that's the thing. Sports are really considered games in a way. So I guess that would be, if you are I would say if you are a fan of the competitive aspect of the activity that you're performing, I think that makes you a gamer. In the broadest sense of the term, I think that makes you a gamer. Whether you like to play tabletop games, whether you like to play video games, whether you like to play sports, whether you like to do any of that stuff, when you play sports, you could just throw a basketball. Nobody would call you an athlete if you just went out to the court and threw a basketball at a hoop. They would call you an athlete if you try to better yourself at that. You know what I mean? If you learn to move around, if you were going to, in the broadest sense of the word. That's when you start to get the distinctions. That's when you start. No one would call a competitive Splatoon player an athlete. I don't think anybody would call them an athlete, because it's a different kind of competition. I say that sports are games. We call them games. We do it all the time. No one would call a basketball player a gamer. You know what I mean? When you get past a certain point, that's when you start to split up. That's why, in the broadest sense of the word, gamer, they're all gamers. Then you start to get into it, though. Gaming community, in my opinion, playing to have fun. Yeah, I was gonna say in the broadest sense of the word. Okay, when we get into hardcore and casual, this is the explanation that I heard, and I heard it years ago, and it always stuck with me. A hardcore gamer is somebody who will make time in their lives, who will fit. How exactly? It was like they'll fit video games into their lives. They will not uproot or anything like that, but they will set aside time to play video games. Whereas a casual person will play video games if they have time. That, to me, was the greatest, easiest distinction between hardcore and casual gamers. Yeah, they will take elements, not even that they will take time out of their schedule, they will make time in their schedule to play video games. If you play an MMO and you say, "Oh, I got a few minutes, I'll play some MMO. I'll play some Warcraft or something. I'll play some Final Fantasy 14." That's fine. And you play it here and there. As opposed to somebody who says, and again, they don't have to be extremes, but as opposed to somebody who says, Hey man, you going out? You going out Thursday night? Like, you want to go get some drinks Thursday night? I have a raid. That person is a hardcore gamer. There's a clear difference between which one of those is a hardcore gamer and which one of those is a casual gamer. Wouldn't that make all streamers hardcore? Mendez, that's an interesting one. We'll come back to that because that's an interesting choice there. That's a very, very interesting point that you make there. More along the, again, developed interest part for core casual or anything. You're not a cinephile if all you watch is summer blockbusters and Star Wars every year. Hey, Lizard. See, Ryan, I don't know, because I think, again, that's the same thing. Like, me personally, I think that in my opinion, I think that that's sort of the same problem. If all you do is watch summer blockbusters, okay, maybe you're not a cinephile, but you are cutting time out of whatever else you may be doing. You are setting time specifically aside to go see the movies. What movies you go to see are your own choice, but you are setting time aside out of your schedule. You are working, going to see movies into your schedule, as opposed to, hey, I've got a couple of hours when I'm not doing anything, I might as well go see a movie. If you say, hey, Saturday morning, it's movie time, regardless of what you go and see, you're a hardcore movie fan. The difference would then be, and then that's where you start to scale down even closer. You're not making it, but I think it is, though, Ryan. I think it is a core interest. I think that there are enough blockbuster movies out there that you could have your core interest being watching blockbuster movies and still be blatantly considered a movie fan. I don't think that that's outside the realm of realism. I consider myself a casual. I play games when I can. Lizard, there you go. That's a bit more. And I probably should have said this at the beginning. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. I don't like the whole argument about hardcore gamers versus casual gamers. They're different groups of people, and those different groups of people are responsible for different kinds of gaming. But say, for instance, that person only uses time for one. That's what I was getting to, Suave. That's when you start to narrow it down even more. Would you say that I'm a movie fan if every week I set time aside to watch movies, but I watch the same 2 movies? If I say that I play video games 30 hours a week, but all I play is Final Fantasy 14, does that make me a hardcore gamer? I'm setting time aside to play these games, but it's only the one game. To understand the craft, develop the taste that suits you more. See, I don't know. Ryan, I think that that's a different word to me. To me, that's a different word. I think that when you get into that, that's when you start to be more like, I like your word cinephile. I like the idea of the word cinephile, because yeah, I like movies, but I would never consider myself a cinephile because I don't get into that. I don't get into all the production and stuff like that. But I do feel like if you, without getting into all of that, I know I personally love video games, but I very rarely get into the politics behind the scenes. I could very rarely tell you who is making the soundtrack. Does it mean that I'm not a hardcore gamer because I couldn't tell you who directed this game and who wrote the score? You know what I mean? I would tell you that I am not a fan of, I am not into the production side of things. But am I a hardcore gamer? I play games 40 hours a week. I know these games inside and out, but I don't know what goes on behind the scenes of those games. Am I suddenly not a hardcore gamer? See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about when I say that. Like, yes, I may develop an interest in addition to playing the games, but those interests could easily be something else. It's Suave, and that's why I love this topic. I'm casual, but I think hardcore gamers deserve respect. They shouldn't lord it over filthy casuals. Yeah, but casuals should also respect the level of investment. And yeah, and I think that that's an important thing. That's not necessarily what I mean. The working parts of the game that make it work, not on a technical level, but an interest in what makes the game work as a game. I get that. I see what you mean. The mechanics of the game, rather than just picking up a controller and saying, I'm going to play this game, you want to know why the game ticks the way it ticks. You want to know how to get better. And Ryan, in a way, if that's what you're saying, in a way, that falls into the competitive aspect of the game. Because a lot of people would say, oh, well, there's no, somebody mentioned it earlier, like God of War isn't a competitive game. Yes, God of War is a competitive game. God of War is a competitive game because you need to understand the workings of the control system. You need to understand the working of the game's mechanics, how the bosses and enemies will act and react. There is a competitive nature to those kinds of games, and that competitive nature is the game itself. Excuse me. I'm a little more hardcore with anime. That being said, hang on a second. All right. That being said, I'm trying to do better. Not trying to dictate how people watch things. Lizard, that right there is not, to me, that has nothing to do with being a gamer or being an anime fan. I personally think that that's just being a jerk. Like the people who, you're not a real fan because you don't do this or that, or you do that. Get out of my face with that. You get right out of my face. Divisive. We're the weirdest herd animal there. Oh, we do. You know why? You know why, Sean? You know why we're so weird in that sense? Because in a world with billions of people and each of us, for the most part, lives in a society of thousands of people, we struggle for identity and self-worth. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to group ourselves together with other people. And not to mention the fact that it's a primitive instinct for safety in numbers. So we group and we see it in animals all the time. They group, you said it yourself. They're weirdest herd animals ever. Why do herd animals make herds in the first place? It's not like a herd of elephants are the only elephants in the world. But they group together for safety, and that's there's a primal instinct to do that. And when we live in worlds that are surrounded by so many people, we struggle to find something to group ourselves together, which is why, even though we're all gamers, people feel the need to separate hardcore gamers from casual gamers, PC gamers from console gamers. People look for these groupings so that they can feel grouped and safe and important. And that's why I was worried about this topic, because I don't want people to think that that's what I'm trying to do. All of these groups are important. Back to the movie comparison. They're enjoying an MCU movie. You're not trying to understand why a movie works the way you're just laughing at the joke. Oh, but yeah, I see what you mean, Ryan. My point is just that I could be doing all of that. Like what you're saying, I could be trying to understand why the movie works the way it works. I can be doing all of that while only watching the most popular trendy movies. There's no reason that I can't go and watch Avengers because it's the newest movie and come out of it thinking, wow, the structure of this movie was really good. I like the pacing of it. I thought that the action was this and that. Like, you know what I mean? There's no reason that I can't do that with the things that are trendy at the time. Like we talked about with video games, where I only play the most popular games, the games that are trendy right now. But there's no reason that I can't take that trendy game, play it, and say the mechanics of this game were amazing. The storyline was unbelievable. The visuals were a little bit bland. But I can break that game down the same way anybody else can, probably even better than some. But if I only apply that to the newest, trendiest games, does that necessarily take me out of gamer status? I have a thought. We're missing some here, so let me. I have a thought. What about people who fall somewhere in between casual and hardcore gamers? For me, on one hand, I don't play games as often as compared to hardcore gamers. In 100% things as much as possible. Let me ask you something, Aqua Sakura. If you had more time, would you play games that way? Because there's a distinction between people who don't have time to play games that way and people who do and choose not to. There's a distinction there. You know, I would play games and watch anime a lot more if I had the opportunity to. But the bottom line is I have to work. I have things to do. Sean fired 100 bits my way. Thank you. Greg, stop talking about religion, fan base. Everything. The room's a piece of shit. Yeah, everyone's gonna have their niche. Let me scroll fast here. I usually stick to trendy stuff because I'm not digging through the garbage or Steam to find a hidden gem. But if you're only following trends, you're not seeing anything else that's there to offer. You're not developing your own taste. Yeah, that's where I would agree with you 100%, that you're not developing your own taste. Thank you, Greg and Dr. Juice. This is an awesome topic. Yeah, that's where I would agree with you 100%, that you need to develop your own tastes. You need to have your own thoughts. And again, you could be watching the movie and developing your own thoughts about that movie, but you're only watching it because everybody else is watching it. So it's a question of what is the most important thing. I managed to make it before. So Rooster, Silver Lining is going, we started at 5, so you're right on the money. How about those of us that prefer to disassemble and explore the inner mechanisms of how game software functions and the hardware they use? Experiment. Now you're talking about you're not interested so much in playing the game as you are the functionality of the game. You're talking about, these are the people who love to make music and don't listen to the radio. You know what I mean? There's a difference there where that's an interesting a little grouping there, because yeah, you're talking about people who love to play video games, who love to make video games and love what goes into making video games, but don't play video games. I think that that's probably too small of a group to exist, because by nature, you should be a fan of that thing. Even if you're not a long term, like a huge, it's your life. But I feel like you need to be a fan of that thing in order to understand what is there to do in the first place. Just started. What makes a gamer? Yeah, we're talking what makes a gamer. A trend follower will play Final Fantasy 15, not having played any other Final Fantasies. Shadow, a trend follower right now. Because if I'm a trend follower and I've been playing video games since 1995, I play Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You see what I mean? That's only because you would have just started right now. But as a trend follower, I would have played every popular game that everybody talks about. You know, think of, if I asked you right now to name a bunch of popular PS3 series, a trend follower would have played those games. Last of Us, God of War, some of the higher, the not masterpiece releases, but the remasters of games, like when they were really popular. A trend follower would have played all of those games. But a hardcore gamer, somebody who's not a trend follower, probably would have also played all of those games. I is a gamer. When you put it that way, if I did not have any other obligations or dreams, then I'd be playing more video games. Aqua, that makes you a hardcore gamer to me. You know, yes, you can't do it now, but not because you don't want to, because you're not able to. I think you can develop your own tastes with just popular stuff. I think it's possible. Suave, you know what, though? I will agree, though. You said, I think I can develop your own taste with popular stuff. What's going to happen, though, Suave, naturally, if you are doing that, is eventually you're going to start liking things that may not be popular. You know, and that's the thing. If you're shutting off that part of your brain that says, I may like this or I may not like this because it's popular, then yeah, you're not developing your own tastes. But it is possible to say, I'm going to follow the trends and eventually develop a taste. And then you say, hey, this movie is the trendy movie, but based on my experience, it looks kind of stupid. Then you're straying away from that. Hackers and modders are considered gamers to me. Yeah, Shadow, yes, they are. Hackers and modders are considered gamers because they play the games and they try and figure out how to do something different to the game. But their intention is to alter the game that they are, in fact, playing. Keep drinking before hydrated bot gets on my ass. Decided to start at 15. Yeah, see, Aqua, that's where you started getting to, they did it because it was trendy, but that led them into something else. That's when they start to get away from that trendiness. If I start wearing stirrup pants, call the police because I'm trying to warn you that I'm in danger of some kind. But if I start doing that because it's the trendy thing, and then I just never stop doing it, you know what I mean? When the next trendy thing comes along, I'm still wearing stirrup pants. That is a situation where I'm no longer the trendy person. I found something that I like and I stuck with it. Last of Us is a series. Well, you know what I mean. Popular games, I should say. Would have played all those games when they came out and then moved on. Yeah, exactly. Elements, they would have moved on, but they still would have played those games. So when you ask somebody, hey, did you play these games? And you list off 10 games and they say yes, you can't really tell if they're hardcore gamers or if they are just trend followers. Let me put it this way, popular does not necessarily... Oh, no, popular does not mean good at all. Part 2 is coming. Gaming is playing video games. All kinds count. Yes, even casual games. Which we've already been... We're already getting into it. Had to leave for a bit. Still talking about video gamers. Well, we've narrowed it down to video gamers. A trendsetter would play all the popular things of any genre. See, yeah, and a trendsetter would play all the popular video games of any genre. Probably like a hardcore gamer would. Without really finding a taste and focusing on their own games. There's a distinction there too. Developing personal taste can lead to better discretion. Yeah, and that's why I agree. I agree, Ryan. I agree that if you can start as a trendsetter, but then develop your own tastes and then become a trend follower and then become not a trend follower, but you started at the trendiness in order to lead you into that. Oh, hey, real Chris. We are talking about what makes a gamer a gamer. Keep up with the trends so you don't get alienated with current gen. It's also important to have your own opinion. Most importantly, though, I don't think you can have a solid opinion on a video game. And okay, now and then we kind of touched on that before. I was gonna say, like, I don't play other than the Switch because the Switch is amazing. I don't have a whole lot of money to be playing all of the most popular games. I don't have a PS4. I can't play Dad of War. I've never played a PS4 game. I've never played an Xbox One game. I played a Switch. I have the Switch, which was kind of that. Would even getting the Switch was kind of a fluke. Would I then not be a gamer because I didn't play the newest stuff? You know what I mean? I didn't have the money to. But we kind of touched on that because I had said before, like, if I had the money, I would. I don't have the money, so I don't. Hey, Daha Wario. Yeah, being sick is not pleasant at all. Look at No Man's Sky. Super popular. Yeah. My understanding is that No Man's Sky has gotten better, but that game was flawed from the beginning, which I think we discussed before. I think No Man's Sky had a big fundamental problem where you can't show all of these cool things off and all of these wild things that you can see and do, and then in the same breath tell everybody's experience is going to be different. You shoot yourself in the foot because you show me all this cool stuff, and the first thing you said was immediately after showing me all that cool stuff, the first thing you said was, "Oh, but you're probably not going to see this." So No Man's Sky kind of shot itself in the foot with that. Yeah, I only buy like 5-6 new games a year. Although I do get a lot of older games throughout the year, but they're usually that much cheap. Yeah. Starting that way, following trends is fine. But yeah, as I said, the important thing is to develop your own taste. Yeah. Ryan, we actually did, that was part of the, when we talked about being a weeaboo, we talked about the idea of, because the consensus that I came to was that a weeaboo is somebody who tries to emulate Japanese culture, but only pulls that culture from things like anime. But there's a point where when you do that, what happens when you develop more and more interest, and rather than just saying, "Oh, I just watch anime, so now I want to be Japanese," you start to actually look into what goes on in the actual culture. You start to take classes to learn the language, you take Japanese studies, you go to Japan and you experience the culture for yourself. At what point do you stop being a weeaboo as a negative thing and you start actually being a fan of Japanese culture? There's a line there. So that's sort of the same thing with the trendsetter line. You know, I can, or the trend follower. I can be the trend follower, but how long until you can say, oh, well, I was a trend follower. I would go to the movies and watch the most popular things, or I would play the most popular games. But eventually I started to develop my own voice and my own tastes for what I like from those things. What is the consensus on importing? Importing is great. I love importing. The definition of gamer and what that implies. What is that? Time to play, let alone finish RPGs. But Gray, you would have if you did have the money. Yeah, Suave. That's what I was saying. I would have a lot of that stuff if I did have the money. And you keep following it. And that is another thing. I do follow the community outside of the circle of games that I have in my house, that's sort of what Ryan was talking about, where it's you know, you're developing yourself more rather than just I go and play games and that's it. Which I agree with. I think that when you start to, and this is why we talked before about like the wording, the terminology. I think the lexicon is very important, and the terminology is significant because I like the word aficionado. I've always been a fan of the word aficionado, whereas you are a fan of multiple aspects of the thing. You know, a gamer isn't necessarily somebody who goes onto web pages and reads all of the latest news about the stuff going on behind the scenes. They play games, you know, so then when you become a video game aficionado, that's when you start getting more into it. You know, there are people out there who, theoretically, you could have people out there who read video game news. But they're just like reporters. They get handed a bunch of notes about what to say about video games, and then they don't actually play any video games. They're reporters. They're not gamers. I'm generally pretty open, but I think my only elitist gaming opinion I have, you're not really a gamer if you only play the yearly sports releases and the big FPS or phone garbage. You're not a gamer, dude. you're a dude, bro. Ryan, you actually bring up Ryan, yes, the Cuphead guy. Which if you guys get a chance, go and watch I did a video about should gaming journalists be good at games. I think that's pretty. I'll try and link that somewhere. But Ryan, you touched on something else that I wanted to get into. When we have these different kind of gamers, we have these people who, I think a big opinion when it comes to us as gamers, us kind of gamers, is that people who solely play mobile phone games are not gamers. I think that is unfortunate. I actually don't believe that, but I think that is a sort of consensus. I think that's one thing that, you know, whether you're a PC gamer or a console gamer or anything, or hardcore casual, I think a lot of people like to say that phone gamers aren't real gamers. I disagree. I think that this may have already been said, but I associate the term gamer with people whose main hobby is to play video games. I disagree with the idea that they're not gamers, because to say that in a small way, mobile gamers are the same way. And when I say mobile gamers, I mean people who exclusively play Vita and 3DS and even Switch Mobile. People who say that they don't have their dock. They don't use their dock because they only play it on the go. The idea is that they're playing it on the go, so are they really gamers? Now, the reason I say very tiny is because I know that your phone is your device, because you guys are going to jump on me immediately. Yeah, by mobile I mean phones. I say very small because the phone is not something that you invested in for gaming. The phone is something that you already had, and now you play games on it. So I know that distinction. That's why I don't claim that they are one and the same. But mobile gamers, hardcore mobile gamers, somebody who, for instance, when it's time to upgrade their phone, they make sure to buy the better phone that can handle the games they're playing. You know, they will never buy a flip phone for the rest of their lives because they need to make sure that they can play games, whether it's Candy Crush, whether it's emulators on things. Shadow, just as I said it. I would, I would eliminate that. I would eliminate the emulators because I would eliminate the emulators because they are not playing games that are originally on mobile. They're playing games that are from something else and they're emulating them to be mobile. I would have agreed with you 10 years ago because 10 years ago we had Snake. Okay. 10 years ago we had Snake and we had Free Cell and Solitaire and stuff like that. And maybe your phone had Pac-Man on it. No, you're not. I don't consider you a gamer if those are the games that you play. I'm not even entirely sure that I consider you a gamer if you play Candy Crush, Farmville. I'm not entirely sure I would consider you a gamer if you play that. However, video games on phones have developed to a point where they are very extensive. We are starting to get much more complicated games. I think the Telltale games are some of the I think there are mobile versions of some of the Telltale games. That's why there are some games that are coming to phones that, and the thing is that they're not all popularized. They're not all popular. Would you say that I'm a gamer if I play tower defense games? Tower defense games originated on a computer, and I don't think anybody would deny that a computer gamer, a PC gamer, is a gamer. Tower defense games, from what I understand, all video games originate on computers in a way, but Ryan, we're right in sync here. Tower defense games, and that's the thing. Most video game, tower defense games were computer gamers, so they would be gamers. Tower defense games are video games. They are PvE competitive. They are gamers. Tales from the Borderlands. I used to play a game called Omega Strike, which was a strategy space combat game where it was you go back and forth it was your army and it was their army, and you go back and forth. It wasn't a tower defense. It was because you were actually battling them too. Would I be a gamer if that game was on a console, but then I'm not a gamer because that game is on a cell phone? You see what I mean? Like it's interesting. You can buy full-blown games. Knights of the Old Republic is available on Android and iOS. Yeah, War of the Lions is available. Yeah. Now what I'm getting at, they're not interested in being games. They're interested in being time and money sinks. Ryan, they're all time and money sinks. I think that's one thing that I do like to stress out whenever I talk to people. They're all time and money sinks. These are all things that are designed to entertain you, and at the same time, they want to be better than others because they want your money before you give it to them. And that's what they do. We may put them on a pedestal more than other things, but ultimately that's what they're there for. Why do people play mobile games? Because they have long commutes and they want something to do to entertain them. They like the challenge that the mobile games offer, as opposed to just sticking their headphones on, and listening to music. All of the reasons, and why do companies make mobile games? Now, Ryan, the constantly limiting your, that's a different thing, though. Not all video games do that. When I bought Omega Strike, you buy the game and you don't have to buy anything else. I play Plague Inc. If you've ever played Plague Inc., it's awesome. I play Plague Inc. I don't need to buy anything other than the game itself. There are no microtransactions. You're talking about games with microtransactions, but even that becomes an issue because you have games that have microtransactions on console and on PC. They do the exact, and that's what I'm talking about. The things that not all games, but the things that you're claiming that makes mobile games not gamer type games happens on console games too. So it's not it's not that cut and dry anymore. It used to be cut and dry, but it's not anymore. And that's the point, is that and that's why I said 10 years ago I would have said that a mobile phone gamer is not a gamer. But nowadays they're getting the same kind of video games that we're getting. Yes, there are a lot of mobile games that have buyable transactions that have microtransactions, but not all of them do. There are tons of video games that don't. I will not buy a game that requires me to keep buying things. I played Pokemon Go, and the first thing I bought like extra Pokeballs and lures once, just to see what it was like and just to support the game, because I bought the game. I like to support the game. If I get a free download, I do want to support it at least once, monetary wise. But you're getting into that point where they are sort of blending. So mobile phone gamers are getting the same kind of experience we are. There are full-blown games, complete games that they can buy and play on their phones. If you grab my phone and said, hey, what games do you have on your phone? You're not a real gamer. And you saw Tales from the Borderlands and the, what are those the Telltale games and stuff like that. And then I tell you, hey, I have some of these games and I've never bought anything through microtransactions. Does that change your opinion? Because now we're the same. Now we're the same. Now we're playing video games on the platform that is easiest for us to play, and we are not succumbing to the microtransaction throw money at the game scenario. This is what I wanted to tackle. So question, Suave asked us earlier, who considers visual novels a video game? Suave, is there a choice option? You know what I mean? Is there a path that I can choose? Because that would be considered a video game. If I just click a button and read the next page, it's just a book. Requires something more than more attention than casually clicking something and waiting for it. Yeah, I'll give you that one, Rooster. I'll give you that one. It does require a little bit more attention. Again, there are console games that you could probably just hit the button and Doki Doki Literature Club was boring. Yeah, it's tricky with Doki Doki Literature Club. But it's a vast majority of games. Visual novels like Ace Attorney and I don't know if that's a visual Suave. I don't know if I'd consider that a visual novel. That is that's more of a point and click adventure. I would say that. The difference is the majority of phone games compared to and Ryan, I'll give you that there is a majority on phone games, but I think that that's just because of the way the mediums started. I think that that's where that came from, but that is changing. That was the point that I was trying to make, was that is changing. We are getting more real, what we call real video games on phones now. So that's why I say that I would consider. Am I super behind? Somebody said I'm behind. Mendez said it behind. Visual novels are not video games. Is a blanket statement. It's a blanket statement. Is my audio lagging or anything? I just want to make sure. Would visual novels be closest related to strategy RPG? No, Dr. Juice, I would put a visual novel. I would put a visual novel. You do have control of the pacing, which is important. I wouldn't consider them strategy RPGs. I would consider them choose your own adventure text adventures. Which is a game. I do consider that a game. It would require multiple playthroughs for you to experience the full part of the game. I agree that it's changing. The shop is still garbage and nothing really comes from phones. There's nothing to say I need to play this on phones for gamers even today. But Ryan, that's just an opinion, because there are some people who do feel that way, and that's why, and that's one of those things that it is just your opinion, because can we agree that the Xbox One is a real video game system? Can we agree that the Xbox One is a real video game system? I will wait for that answer to come up. Only because there's one ending and a wrong ending, but that really doesn't count. Well, Rooster, it does count. If you could possibly lose by getting the quote unquote wrong ending, that counts. That's a different ending, and that means that there is a win and there's a loss. Yeah. Well, I would say that the Lizard, that the Xbox One is a real system. That's a real video game system for a real gamer. There is nothing on the Xbox One that interests me to play it. There is nothing on the Xbox One that makes me want to go out and buy an Xbox One. That doesn't, in the overall scenario, that does not remove the Xbox One as a legitimate video game system. That is simply my opinion about the choice of games on that platform. That's why I say that. That's why I say that you're saying that there's nothing on the mobile that, what were your exact word? Yeah. There's nothing to say I need to play this on phones for gamers, but I could say that about the Xbox One, and that does not diminish the overall significance and character, or not character, legitimacy of the Xbox One. It just requires you to click and make the occasional choice without any thought behind. Yeah, see, Suave, that's when... Let me ask you, Suave, because we did kind of touch on this a second ago. Are there multiple endings? Actually, no. I even with multiple endings, I think is there a win and a loss? Let's put it that way. Is there a win and a loss? Because if there's a loss, if there's a version of the story that I lose, then the competition in the game is to find the path that wins. If every path is just a different win, then it's not really a video game. It's a visual novel. It's not a game. There's no competition. I could make it a competition because I'm trying to reach the story end that I would like, but ultimately there's no loss. There's no winning and losing. What I'm making here is there's still nothing on phones that inherently drive gaming as an industry. Yeah, see, but I think that there is. I think that, you know what? Gaming as an industry other than deceptive monetization practices. I think that there is, Ryan, and here's the thing. I actually wanted to talk about this earlier, so it's good that you brought it up. The thing that drives mobile gaming, not necessarily the practice of earning money, because again, all of this stuff is created to get your money. So to say that mobile games are to demonize mobile gaming because it's trying to get your money is an incorrect or not inaccurate. It's an incomplete statement, and it overlooks the realization that all video game companies are trying to get your money. Mobile gaming is no different than these other games. It's just the way that they do it. They put the games out there often either really cheap or even free, and then they want you to buy it with mobile if I went out and bought a game that was $60 and it was trash and I play it once and I hated it, they got my money more than a mobile company who gave me a game for free, said, hey, we want you to pay $1 every time you do this thing. And after 3 times, I realized I don't like the game. All they got from me was $3. The other company got $60. Who is jerking you away from your money more? The big company is the one that's taking your money because they took $60 up front. I see. I don't know. I don't. And this is the point I was trying to get to before. The thing that drives mobile gaming most are the people that are playing it. They wouldn't be making these games if people weren't playing it. The reason these people play it most of the time is because they are on the go. The accessibility to the game suits their life. So that's why they do it. Yes, there are tons of cash grab games out there. There are tons of asset flips where it's very simple graphics. They're using the same sound effects from other games. They're using the same visuals from other games. They're doing all of this stuff, and all they're doing is trying to get your money in a cheap, fast way so that by the time you realize that it's stupid, you've already spent money on it. There are tons of companies that are doing that. But to generalize it and say that they're just trying to get your money, they're all just trying to get your money. They're not. Sony and Nintendo aren't making amazing games because they're saying that they want to better the world. And well, I guess we got to charge you some money for it. They're making them because they want to make money. There's a ton of Pokemon Go clones. Yeah, Pokemon Go clones that don't have any real value to them. So many clones. Differences, other sources of gaming have a better balance of that. Mobile gaming is still heavily skewed. Yeah, it is so. But Ryan, that's what I'm saying to you. That I do believe that it is heavily skewed towards crap. But that is changing, and it doesn't mean that there aren't game. Most of the Game Boy Advance's library is crap. Let's be honest here. Yeah, wasn't that one of the systems that had like 1,100 games or something? It's crap. Most of it's crap. But it doesn't mean that the Game Boy Advance wasn't overall a better system, or wasn't a great system. Mobile handheld, not mobile phone. Oh, okay. You're misconstructing my point. No, but see, Ryan, the point is that is how your point can be constructed. I get that you're trying to say a specific thing, but the reality is, that is how that whole thing can be approached and viewed. Most of the PS1 is crap. Yeah, most of the WiiWare is crap. It doesn't mean that and yes, and again, most of mobile phone gaming is crap. But it doesn't mean that the medium, that the platform itself is bad because of it. It just means that there is too much opportunity to take advantage of people and their money, and that's the easiest place to do it. Speaking of a platform where people are using things like asset flips to rob people of their money more than there are quality games on there, why don't we talk about Steam? Steam has a giant hulking pile of crap that gets loaded pretty much every day. Later, Lady Foxheart. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Steam is a legitimate platform for playing video games. But there is a plethora of junk on that system. Hello. Yes, it is, and there's nothing there to balance that out of phones. Nothing high enough to.
No, I'm trying.
Oh,
okay.
Hello. But yeah, and that's why, and that means a lot. And that's probably the most important thing when it comes to that. When it comes to the idea of diminishing mobile gaming or mobile phone gaming, I should keep saying mobile phone gaming. Oh wait, somebody said, who was that? Hang on a second here. Lord Blackbeerus, you low key look like a guy streaming on Twitch. I definitely am that low key Lord Blackbeerus. It's a green light game called, yeah. You got pulled quickly. But yeah, you can't diminish the reality of, or the significance of mobile phone gaming, because the majority of it, probably past 95% is garbage. Because that just means that there are people putting garbage on the system. It doesn't mean that the platform itself it doesn't have a place in the Virtual Boy was, that's a different issue entirely. That's like saying 1880 silent films aren't good. They're not good. Then you're calling into question all of classic gaming. So because Atari games don't have the quality of Metroid Fusion, Atari games aren't video games. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, Dr. Juice. The problem is that Atari games were quality for their time. Some of them were quality for their time. So yeah, that's not really the same issue, just because that was just they were a product of their time. If somebody put out an Atari game now and said, "Hey, this game is great," then you'd be in the mix. You know what I mean? That's where you would get to the, what are you talking about? Yeah, that has more to do with age. Stuff getting lost to the passage of time. How long was Virtual Boy? Virtual Boy was alive for what, less than a year? The Virtual Boy is a system that did not have a place. That system had no business existing in the first place at that time. Maybe now there's a place for it. Maybe now they can figure out something to do with it. But at the time, it didn't have any place. The Jaguar was crap, but as a standard video game type system, it had a place. It was around 95 for the Virtual Boy. No, yeah, Virtual Boy, I want to say was like 95 or something like that. I know it was. I know I was in high school, so I know that it was around 95. The Virtual Boy. I think Rayman was originally. Yeah, I think Rayman was on the Jaguar. But that's when you. Let me wiki this. Hold on. What are we talking about at the moment? Just the legitimacy of the original topic was what makes you a gamer. But then we started to we've moved on to what justifies gaming. You know what I mean? We're still trying to figure out who plays what. The point on mobile game I'm making, it's the best thing on phones are ports, retros of old games. There's not a single thing on phones that says this platform is worthwhile. I don't know. I played Omega Strike and Plague Inc. a lot. Trust me, go and play Plague Inc. I personally believe you guys will love that game. For the record, Plague Inc. is a game where you try and create and develop a disease with the intention of the disease spreading and eliminating all life on Earth. It sounds super grim, but there are a lot of challenges to the game as far as you can develop what symptoms the disease has, but you can't overly develop it, because the more you develop it, the faster they'll try and cure it. Yes, it's like Pandemic. You can develop how fast it spreads. You can develop how visible the disease is. You can develop how you can stop their cures. You develop how resistant it is to medicine. Like, it's very interesting. So is that the browser game I played later? It might be. But I tell you what, I bought it on my last phone because it was like $1 or $2. I bought it on my last phone. I bought it on my current phone. I bought it on my tablet. And if I get another phone, I'll probably buy it there, just because it's cheap, just because it's accessible. Shut down everything. All right, I'll tell you what. I am going to take like a 3-4 minute break, because we did go a little bit longer. Mendez asked me that before. Yes, I am going to take a break, which I'm going to do now. I don't know. This is a pretty fun topic. Why don't we? I'm going to take a few minutes, and then I'll come back. We'll pick it up where we go, and then we'll figure out if anybody else has anything they want to discuss. So just give me a few minutes, and if you're watching this on YouTube, then I will see you for the next video. But here we go.